Greetings of the day. Today we will discuss about one of the important topic in operating system, that is nothing but common concurrency problems. Okay, so before going to the topic, we must have an idea about the concept of concurrency, what it is, why we require that one, what are the advantages of that one, what are the disadvantages of that one. So when we talk about the concept of concurrency, so why that emerged? So nowadays with respect to an operating system, we are expecting an operating system to do more tasks. Okay, more tasks in a same interval of time. So how could it be possible? We have to achieve the concept of concurrency. So it is nothing but the ability of the operating system to handle multiple tasks or processes at the same time. So here when we talk about concurrency, one more concept comes into the mind, that is nothing but parallelism. So there is a quite a bit difference between concurrency and parallelism. So I will make it clear with one real time example. For suppose a queue is standing in front of a coffee machine. Okay, in front of a coffee machine. So there is only one queue that is standing in front of the coffee machine, and one by one everyone is coming and taking the coffee. Okay, so let's consider this analogy as concurrency. Consider one more example. There are two coffee machines and there are two lines. Okay, and one by one everyone is coming in the two lines and taking the coffee. So there also many tasks are being carried out, here also many tasks are being carried out. So here with respect to one processor, many tasks are being carried out. So there with respect to many processor, many tasks are being carried out. So that's a bit of difference between concurrency and parallelism. So there lies a small bit of line between differences between concurrency concept and parallelism. Hope that it is clear with the live example. So with increasing demand, as we said now, so why the concept of concurrency is being important. So as the days are being passing, we are going with the concept of high performance. That means many tasks should be carried out within a span of time. So in order to achieve that, we need the concept of concurrency. So that is a critical aspect that need to be carried out. So that could be achieved with the help of concept of concurrency. So concurrency is essential in the modern operating system due to the increasing concept of the multitasking. So not only in the present scenario, in the real time also we could carry out, in parallel computing also we could carry out the concept of concurrency. So operating system that support concurrency can execute it. So definitely after achieving the concurrency, what happens, one can do multiple tasks. Okay, that could be carried out within a span of time. Okay, so at the same time we could carry the effective utilization of the resources. That is nothing but one of the goal that need to be carried out by the operating system. Okay, so when we talk about the process, so every task in an operating system could be carried out with the help of a process. So we can categorize the process on the concept of synchronization into two types. What are they? Independent and cooperative process. Okay, independent process and cooperative process. What is an independent process? So when two processes are running and the output or the running of one process is not going to affect another, then we can say that those are the independent process. Okay, so cooperating process, what are the cooperating process, or when we can say two processes are being cooperative process, if the execution of one process affects the execution of another process, then we say or term such kind of two processes as cooperative process. So this is a classification of the process basing on the concept of synchronization. Okay, so next there is a principle of congruency. So that is nothing but there are two concepts that we have to study, that is nothing but interleaving and synchronization. So when we talk about the synchronization, syncing means what? Coordination. Coordination means what? How we are achieving the concept of concurrency with the help of processes and threads. Okay, so there must be a good coordination among them, because with the help of them only we are going to carry out the multiple tasks. Okay, so if there is no good coordination among them, what happens? We could not achieve the concept of concurrency. Okay, so synchronization is an important one, and interleaving. So interleaving refer about the interleaved execution of multiple process or threads. Okay, so these two concepts could be carried out with the principles of congruency. Okay, so other things that are important that we have to consider in congruency is nothing but the mutual exclusion. So what is about the mutual exclusion? So there is an understanding between the two processes. When one process is utilizing the resource, a shared resource, another process should not that means should not disturb the previous process which is carrying out its task. So there is a mutual understanding between them. Okay, so deadlock avoidance. So deadlock is when the concept of the deadlock is going to be carried out. So deadlock is a situation where we are having limited number of resources and multiple processes are competing for the resources. At certain scenario, what do we observe? Okay, a process is running its task with certain resource and another is waiting. So the waiting is not going to end. Okay, it continues still. Okay, so a large waiting of a process for a resource that is utilized by another process, that creates the concept of deadlock. So it is very important to see that deadlocks could be avoided. So that could be achieved with the concept of concurrency. So process or thread coordination. So as we have discussed, so there should be a good coordination among the processes and the threads, because the processes and the threads need to work on a common goal. Okay, so that's why if there is a good coordination among them, definitely we could achieve the concept of concurrency. Okay, nothing but resource allocation. So resources, what are the resources that we come across with respect to the operating system, such as memory, CPU, time, IO devices. So here when a task is being carried out, multiple processes are running, multiple threads are running. So there should be a good coordination among the resources, resource allocation for a particular task to be completed. So this could also be carried out, this could also be considered as one of the principles of concurrency. So these are the concepts of concurrency: principles versus threads, synchronization primitives, next scheduling algorithms, message passing, memory management, interrupt handling. So when we are going to consider the concept of the interrupt, that means when a smooth going process, when it is being halted for something, then we can say that interrupt has occurred. So memory management. So memory management plays a crucial role in the operating system. Though we are having the effective size of the RAM, it could be managed properly in order to execute multiple and large tasks at the same time. So message passing. So this is one of the technique utilizing which processes are going to communicate among themselves. So here some of the process, while competing the resources, they approach the processor at different times. So depending on these kinds of scenarios, we can schedule the algorithms. So algorithms may be first come first served, priority based. So like that we could also discuss about the scheduling algorithms. Now here we have to discuss about the concept of concurrency. So definitely why the concept of concurrency has occurred here. So that means in order to carry out multiple tasks, so definitely there should be certain sort of advantages when we are discussing the concept of concurrency. What are they? Definitely if processes and threads are going to work together, so that leads to the performance enhancement. So that is nothing but improved performance is the first thing that we are going to get with the help of the concept of concurrency. So how the task is being achieved with limited resources, they are being utilized optimally. So we are going to achieve the concept of even resource utilization, that is optimality, resource utilization. Responsiveness. So here responsiveness means what the task that is dedicated to a process, what the task that is dedicated to a thread need to be completed. So when we are discussing, or when an operating system is going with the concept of the concurrency, responsiveness of the particular task with what it is assigned with respect to a process and a thread is going to increase. So scalability. So not only simple tasks, you can also run complex tasks. Depending on the complex task, more number of processes are allocated, more number of threads are allocated. At the same time, the required number of resources are also being increased. So that could be allocated to the process in order to handle the complex task. So fault tolerance. If we observe the concept of the fault tolerance, that means fault tolerance is the concept where a entity could overcome the error. Okay, so if we are going with the concept of concurrency with respect to the operating system, we can expect to get less number of errors. Okay. So next, here we are going to face certain sorts of problems in concurrency. What are they? Sharing global resources. So sometimes what happens with respect to the operating system, so one process that is related to one task, another process that is related to another task need to share the resource properly. So there arises a problem of sharing global resources. Optimal allocation of resources. So definitely when a task is being running, the sharing of the resources among the task with respect to the process and the threads is a bit challenging task. Next, locating the programming errors. So when we are discussing about or running a large programs, so there occurs a bit of time in order to find it out where where the error has occurred, what kind of error that is, okay, logical error or different sort of runtime error, whatever it may be. So it takes a bit of time. So we could it takes a bit of time in order to find what kind of error where it occurred. So that could also be a challenging problem here. Next, locking the channel. So that is nothing but it may be an inefficient for the operating system to simply lock the channel and prevent the use of the other process. So definitely here we have to see that when one process is running, another process should not interrupt the running process. Okay, that means interrupts should be reduced. So race around condition. So what is the race around condition? When one process is running for a particular resource with respect to the task to be completed, another process is also running. So next, deadlock, we could avoid them. Starvation is nothing but to make a process to stand for a long time when another process is utilizing the resources. Priority inversion. So priority concept we come across during the scheduling. So here what happens, priority, when a less priority job comes into the scenario, we are going to halt the high priority. So that is nothing but the priority inversion. Okay, so generally priority should be given to a high priority task when compared with that of the less priority task. So here the inverse is going to happen. So this is also one of the problem that has to be faced in the concurrency. Next, critical region or critical section problem. So when one process is in the critical section, another process should not enter. Okay, so these are some of the things. So mutual exclusion is also one of the big problem. Producer consumer problem. So what is the producer consumer problem? We observe when producer is producing the items, consumer need to consume that one. So there should be a good coordination among them. If without any demand, okay, without any need or request from the consumer, if the producer is going on producing the goods, then what happens, more number of goods are being generated which are not of use. If there is a demand, what is the demand? Basing on the demand, the producer has to produce the goods. Okay, when a request comes from the consumer, then only the thing should happen. If there is no demand and producer is going on producing, if there is a high demand and producer is not producing the particular goods, then the concept of the producer consumer problem is going to arise. Next, reader writers problem. So what is the concept of the reader writers problem? When a particular file is being shared in the read mode, then it's well and good. When a particular file is being shared in the write mode, at that time if someone is reading, it is not possible to carry out certain sort of changes. Okay, so that is nothing but the reader writers problem. So we can simple in order to make the concept further clear, we could make a real time scenario comparisons of a critical section problem. Okay, we could consider a library study room. Okay, the study room is nothing but a critical section. That means what, the study room is dedicated for a particular student to gather the information from the resources that are being present there. So only one student is allowed there, for suppose consider. So no other student is going to be allowed if the room is being vacant or not utilized by any other person. So this is an analogy of the critical section problem. Okay, so what is the solution that we can provide here? That is nothing but with the help of the study room key. That is we could solve the problem of the study room with the mutex or lock. So what is a mutex or lock? When some process is utilizing the resource, another one should not disturb that one. So here what is the thing there? A student is utilizing the resources in the library, that is the study room. So another student cannot interrupt him until he is going to complete his task. So how it could be prevented? With the help of a lock. Okay, that is nothing but in terms of OS we are calling that one as mutex. Okay, so nothing another critical section problem, we could provide the similar analogy there. Next, office coffee machine analogy. So this is a priority inversion example. Suppose there is a coffee machine and inside a office we observe various kinds of employees, higher authorities, lower authorities, medium authority. So generally what happens, if there is only one coffee machine and if a boss comes there, and at that same scenario time, if a lower level employee is taking the coffee, he should stop. Okay, and he should allow the boss. That's a kind of the priority that is given. So rather than neglecting the boss, if the lower level employee is still having the coffee or taking from the machine, that could give an analogy of priority inversion. Okay, so this is one of the example of the priority inversion. Next, the cookie jar analogy, that is nothing but the race around condition. So cookie jar, nothing but we can consider that one as a shared jar. So there is a jar in which cookies are being stored. So here what happens, two siblings, Amy, Ben, they want to take the that means cookies from the jar. So here what do we observe, if Amy is going to take the cookie from the jar, if only one cookie is there, he should write that the jar is being empty. So without writing that if Amy left by taking the cookie, then what happens, Ben is going to wait thinking that still there is a cookie in the jar. So this is a kind of the race around condition. Okay, so these are some of the real sort of problems which could be carried out. Okay, next we are having the bakery analogy. So we could resemble the same of the bakery with respect to a producer consumer problem. Suppose there is a shelf in that one, that means the bakers are going to put the cakes. So when more customers come, they are going to take the cakes from the bakery shelf. So here what happens, if the cakes are going to reduce, then it indicates there is a much demand and the producer is going to produce the cakes more. Okay, but here what happens, no one is coming to take the cakes which are kept in the shelf, and the particular chef is going to make on the that means the cakes, that means it doesn't give a correct scenario. So that means if more customers are there, okay, they are demanding more for the thing, okay, that could be produced. So that's the understanding between producer and consumer. If there is a no good coordination among them, then what happens, without knowing the demand, the chef is going on producing the cakes, that becomes over loaded, and we could not store them in the shelf. Okay, so depending on the demand, the need should be carried out. So this is one of the real time analogy of the producer consumer problem. Okay, so nothing but next one is nothing but the reader writers problem. So we can carry out the similar analogy with respect to a library. Okay, so readers are there, writers are there. When readers are reading, we could not carry out the changes with respect to the writing. Okay, so this is some of the real time scenarios where we are going to apply the concept of concurrency is nothing but multi-threaded web servers. So in web server, what do we observe? For a particular web server, lot of requests are coming from different people. Okay, so that need to be satisfied. So how that could be carried out when there is a concept of concurrency in the server. Next, parallel computing and concurrent databases, where that means multiple levels or multiple variations of the databases are maintained easily. How these scenarios are being carried out means these are some of the real time scenarios with the help of which we are going to carry out the concept of concurrency. Okay, though we have discussed the concept of concurrency with certain advantage, at the same time there are certain sort of drawbacks or challenges. What are they? It is required to protect multiple applications. When we are running multiple applications, what happens, there is a possibility for one application to interact from another. So at that time such kind of scenario will degrade the performance of the system. So this is one of the challenging tasks that could be handled properly. Next, it is required to coordinate among the multiple applications. So definitely when we are running multiple applications, what we have to observe, there should be a good coordination among them. When one particular task is running and utilizing the resources of some other kind, that should not be demanded by another task that is also running for another purpose. Okay, so additional performance overhead, there is a limitation of the performance. One could not expect to go the performance beyond the level. If they are going beyond the level means concurrency may not work at certain scenarios. Okay, so sometimes running too many applications than the limit is also not good, and we could not achieve this is a bit challenge with respect to the concept of concurrency. Okay, thank you, and that's end the topic.